Hi guys, welcome to another Chesspatsy UK video. This one's an analysis video from the recent 4NCL weekend that I've just played in for the Celtic Tigers, as I keep getting told. But I'd like just been brainwashed by seeing Celtic football teams. So when I see the word Celtic, I say Celtic, I don't say Celtic. But the Celtic Tigers, now got that out of my way. Yes, we were in 7th place. We're in Division 4 and we're obviously going for promotion. So it was a big weekend for us. It's the second to last weekend. So 2 wins would make a big difference. I'll go into the results at the end of the analysis. I'm going to try and get through 2 games. So I'm going to go a bit more rapid, as I've been trying to get these videos under 50 minutes just to keep the viewers basically, because I know I do ramble. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight into the games. I'm going to find game 1. Not pre-prepared as always. Yes, this is game 1. Very strange game. I did do a little bit of prep for this and then ignored all my prep. And you're going, what? And the point is this. This is what my opponent plays. I play the Roy Lopez as white. So this is a general setup for Roy Lopez. And it's a Roy Lopez as soon as you play your bishop to b5. I've said before, you're after this pawn. It's a bit tricksy. You know, I've been into detail before and I'll go into it again, but it's not necessary right now. But my opponent actually plays this line, which is a bit of a tricksy line. I say it's tricksy. It's not. It's actually very solid. And basically the idea is that you get your bishop to g7 and you put some pressure along this diagonal. And it's quite hard to meet. This has been played at very high levels as well. I think I know Karyakin has been in at least one game of this, and the idea was they played c4 and d4 against it, but black seemed to equalise fairly easily. Now the way to really take the opening on, because obviously I did a little bit of research beforehand, is when they played g6, he played d4 straight away. And then the line goes a little bit like this. I'm not going to go into it too much, but this is the reason why I ended up doing what I did in the game. So I want to explain this part. So they take the pawn, and all you do is you just keep developing with tempi. And here they got a few moves where they can go wrong, but I'm pretty sure my opponent, having played this quite a few times, isn't very likely to. So you can just play f6 here, and then you have to move your bishop back, and then black can continue in a few ways, but just knight e7. You're going to play your bishop to g7. At some point you're going to play f5, and that's your break. And they're also threatening to play stuff like g5, kicking your bishop, and you end up having to put your bishop back on c1. Now, you may be thinking, why are you telling me all this? And I'll tell you why. Because I didn't want to play this in any way, shape or form. Because I don't know what's going on there. Why am I putting my bishop on c1? So, you know what? For another day, if I've got longer than, you know, I only knew about my opponent an hour before the game, then I can do some proper prep, perhaps, and like, have a proper look at this open. I think I need to look at it anyway, because it's definitely a decent try for black. So because of that reason, I still played e4, and he played e5. I played knight f3. He played knight c6, and then I went bishop. I seem to have dropped a bit short and played Gioco Piano. Now the reason I did this, I played the Gioco Piano many years. I think most people who played e4 have played Gioco Piano, and even at top level, it's still a really good try to win. As white, there's loads of plans. You can even go still crazy here. You can still try and play the Evans Gambit and many other fun openings, 2 knights defense, blah blah blah. It's all great fun, but at least it's stuff that I've sort of seen and definitely know a lot more about than this G6 line. So guess what happened? I mean, you know, when I say something like that, you know what's going to happen. He played G6 anyway. I was like, what? You can't do that. That can't be good. My bishop's actually in a better square on this one, because the point is, the Gioco Piano looks really aggressive because you are aiming at f7 straight away. We all know that there's loads of defences, etc. But f7's particularly tender, so you don't expect your opponent to play g6. The point of g6 when your bishop's on b5 is it can get kicked around a lot, and there'll be time for him to play bishop g7 and get out, bishop knight e7, etc. But the point is, my bishop's attacking already. I was already considering sacking the bishop, which is just craziness, you know. I mean, you got to do that. I must say, just to unnerve my opponent. I don't know why I do this, but I just stared at the f-pawn for about 5 minutes. which, considering how this game went time-wise, was probably not the best idea. But I'll come on to that. Don't take that pawn, it's rubbish. The king can easily just walk across and get into g7 and he's absolutely safe. And I knew that, so I didn't do it. So instead, because I'd seen the little bit of prep in the Roy Lopez, I actually quite like this position. And I like this position even more with the bishop on c4. So he took, just like we were playing a Roy Lopez, and we're not. And I brought my bishop out, and he blocked the bishop. And I put my bishop back on f4. And here, I'm like, wow, let's have a quick look, shall we? I've got 3 pieces out. He's got 1. My king's just about to castle. His is definitely not. And to top it all off, my king is going to be very safe. And surely, with all this luff in front of his king, he's in trouble unless he goes queenside. I guess that might have been a plan at some point. So at this point, this was all played fairly quickly because we were both inferior. This is the first big thing for my opponent. And the time control of the 4NCL is awesome. It's proper long. It's like an hour and 40 minutes to do 40 moves, and you get another 50 if you get to 40. And you get 30 seconds increment every move. So we got a long time. But me and my opponent, we burnt a lot of time. I think by move 8, we were literally down to 20 minutes. And it's just because I think both of us felt there should be a crush here. Which is, again, why did my opponent play this? I mean, whether I find it or not is another question. But just to show you how dangerous this position is. If you try and do that earlier plan, remember what I was saying about kicking the bishop and perhaps you want to put it back on c1? No, you don't. You just take that pawn. Because you got this is the difference between the Roy Lopez and the Joko Piano. It's just mate. There's just almost impossible to stop. So you could already be lost on move. What move number is that? Move 6. And it could have been over. And my opponent, I didn't say the grades at the beginning, but my opponent used to be a 205. So, okay, he's gone down a bit now. He's 177. But if you got up to 205, you probably know what you're doing. So he didn't fall for that cheapo, which is a shame because I sat there going, please, please play it, please play it, please play it. But he didn't. But to be fair, I mean, these kind of openings are openings where, as white, you are trying to crush it, and you burn clock time a lot. I mean, I'm just lucky that my opponent kept tabs with me. It was quite funny how we both kept sinking into big things. But then I'll have to go to the score sheet now because now I can't remember exactly the move order. Got to get it right. Blah, 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 bishop, so Queen e7. Right, okay, cool. So his plan is literally, he's not taking this pawn because obviously after castling I'm just going to put a rook there and win his queen. It's just so he can play his bishop to here. And then after that, maybe f5. That was his plan after Queen e7. So I knew that. I could see that. And to be honest, again, I didn't take too long here. Obviously, I can't take this pawn yet because the queen takes with check, and that's a big problem. So I just castled. And he played bishop e7. And again, I've got to say, I sat here and I'm like, there must be something quick here. I've got castled 3 pieces out. He's only developed, well, we can't even call the dark square bishop developed yet. And I'm not going to talk about it too much because I'm going to come back to this position towards when I've finished analysing, just to show you the line that I would have had to have found to keep the edge. And we'll see, you know, this is the position where there's a good move for white, but oh my word, you have to follow it through. And I'll go through what happened in my mind about what I needed to play here. And originally I was going to take this pawn because this pawn's pretty much immune. Remember what I said, if he ever takes it, then you just got rook e1 and that's game over. Go home. But what I wasn't liking was takes, queen takes, pawn up. And this bishop suddenly becoming really, really dangerous. So I disregarded this line. I was like, well, you know what? That's a bit much, that is. I'll find something else. There must be something else. That seems a bit risky. So after thinking for quite some time, I thought, well, I'm trying to keep the initiative. I've still got another piece I need to develop. If I could ever get this knight, into this square, he's busted because the queen's in trouble. The c7 pawn's in trouble. f6 is potentially in trouble. You know, I want to get my knight there. So it pretty much suggests itself, this move. And if he doesn't do anything, then of course I'll just take it and just have a massive centre as well. So I felt like I found an okay move, and the computer agrees, says this is a good move. It's just not quite as good as what it could have been, which is funny because this seems really natural. So he played a good move. He's attacking the bishop. Now here, you know, you could be really quick, and this is what I mean. We've spent a lot of time here. Because you have to look at stuff like, okay, if I take with a bishop, then pawn takes. And what I've done here is, not only have I let him his dark square bishop have an extra square, his knight can come out fairly easily as well. He's now got another square. And he has the bishop pair, so if nothing else, he's got something for it. So I didn't want to give him that. White's still apparently better, but, you know, don't need to give him that. And the other line is knight takes. And again, he'll take back with a pawn. And now I can just drop the bishop back. He's still going to have to deal with these central pawns at some point. I guess something like, just take the pawn. You may as well take it in this position. And then just maybe d6, I don't know, c6 or d6. c6, stop the knight coming in. As you can see, black's actually doing all right. You know, I've managed to keep the bishop pair, but potentially he's going to be able to niggle and wiggle his way out. And the computer agrees. I'd only have a 0.6 advantage here. We had a quick chat in the car on the way back about computer advantages and what 0.6 really means in real life. And of course it means nothing until it's checkmate or you're winning a queen or something major like that, you know. But still, it's just to show that white has some sort of initiative, even then. So instead of that, I still played a good move. I just dropped the knight in. I just dropped the bishop back. Again, if he takes, I'm still going to get my knight out. If he doesn't take, I'm now going to take with tempi. Maybe forcing him to trade here, and my queen will end up on f3. And again, my queen will be good on this diagonal. I can't do it because the... weirdly, chess.com's board is a lot smaller than it usually is. I need to look into that. I didn't have time. I just wanted to get on with the analysis. So I'd have a nice position, basically. So he plays the right move and the expected move, which is... Okay, well, he doesn't want my knight on c3. That's obvious. And there's various ways that I can round up that pawn. Again, I can just take the knight and then take with the queen, or take with the bishop. It's all going to work out. That pawn's dead no matter what. But I came up with what I thought was quite an imaginative plan, because I want to induce even more weaknesses if I can. And the way I want to do it is by... Well, I'm going to play the move anyway, because you'll be like, what's knight e1? This is a good move. It's +1 still for me. And the idea is this. One, I want to pick up this pawn. Two, if the bishop ever moves out of the way, which may be e3, I can play f4. And maybe again start crashing through the middle. Who knows which one I'll push. But the point is I'd have options too. So I get a piece out of the way that I want. He's still not fully developed, so I can get away with this move. And two, once the knight gets here, it actually has access to quite a few useful squares. Whoops, not that one. The bishop's on that one. But the knight will be able to go into b4. And from b4, it can come into either d5, which our arrows are not playing today yet, d5, or I can drop back to c2 and come up to d4. So I thought, you know, fairly imaginative knight play. I mean, I do this in the second game too, funny enough. I actually played well with my knights this weekend. Not saying what the results are yet, because, you know, you don't know. I mean, it looks good for me right now, but things can change. As I say, time pressure is a big thing in this game. So I dropped my knight back. He played d6, which is, again, the correct move. Now, if I take, and then he can take with either pawn, I guess the f-pawn would be slightly better because it gives him some more squares. He's absolutely fine again. So after knight takes, where's black's trouble? The light square bishop can come out easily. Probably to e6 to stop him not being able to castle king. So I just knight f6, and he's actually fine. So from a weird opening, he can be fine very, very quickly. So, you know, I'm not going to help him. So he played d6, and I just took the pawn. Because again, if he takes me, then I think I'm okay. I think I'll still keep the edge with the queen. The queen can come into maybe d5 at some point. Maybe even into b5 with a check. Who knows? You know, my queen can definitely do some damage there. But so for that reason, he didn't take me. So he got on with developing. Knight h6. So I got on with my plan. I said, you know, I wanted a knight here. It didn't necessarily have to be this one. I'd rather it was this one, because as I say, the jumps in would be really good. But any knight in there is good for me. And this induced c6. Now, when he had played knight h6, I was already thinking about queen d2, knowing that I was trapping my knight into the corner for a little while. But obviously the tactic is that I'm attacking that knight. So what I've done is, by making him play c6, because it's the best move, he doesn't want anything to drop in here, I've weakened d6, and I saw this beforehand, and this is why I played this plan. So he plays c6, I play queen d2, attacking the knight, and of course he drops the knight back into a defence. And he defends d6. But I bring the rook in anyway. The reason being this, if he just gets a little bit too cocky and just castles, like I've done it, I've managed to get it through. Well, I can take that because it's pinned. That's the fun of this. He's not out of danger just yet. So the knight can't actually defend that square. So I just win a clear pawn. Come back. So he didn't castle. Because he's good. And instead, he played a5. He tried to get rid of my knight first. Okay. And as I said previously, I knew my knight wasn't going to stay on b4. I mean, there was no way he was going to let it get into e5. So the second backup square was always c2, with the chance to come into d4 and eye up the e6 square. You know, try and make that bishop at least be a little bit worried about where he puts it. So it's a bit of a weird game, eh? So, you know, all these pieces jumping around all over the place. Look, all my pieces are over in this corner. All of his pieces are kind of over in this corner. It's very weird. And when I come back to the main crushing line, you're still going to be surprised. I'm telling you now, if you haven't already worked out what it was. It's not obvious. So here, this is where we burnt all our time. So between move 12 and this is now going to be move 15. This is the big burner. Now, clearly a very tempting move. He's gaining time on the rook, so I have to make a decision. And a tempter, he's tempting me with this move. You're like, ha ha ha, gotcha. But have you? And that is the question. So, the reason that I burned so much time is because of this. I actually considered playing f3, and obviously not because of this, because this is just terrible. Yeah, lose your queen, thanks very much. Done that before. I'm trying very hard not to do that anymore. You don't have to recapture. You can get really, really funky with this. And remember, I'm calculating this from bishop g5, which is never a good idea, because it's many, many moves. And the more moves there are, like plus ply, as the computer would say, the more likely you're going to miss something. But this is what I had in my head. So, alright, fine, I'll take that one. Check. And he can't take with the knight, because I'll just take the bishop. So that'll just be a free piece. So he has to take with a queen or king. And I thought most likely he'd take with a king, because it'll link up his rook. So it makes perfect sense. Then I can take this one. And this gets really, 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 really crazy difficult in my head. But I was like, well, yeah, I'll take that one. And again, if he does queen takes or pawn takes or anything like that, I'm just going to nab the bishop and I'll be a piece up. So I was like, well, he'll take the rook, attacking another piece as well. You know, he's attacking the knight on c2. It's important. There's a lot of material being dropped here. And he was like, okay, well, I'm now attacking your queen. And even here, I thought, well, hang on a minute. Maybe he can just put you in a pin. And then it's just, what are you going to do now? And then I guess the best move is, well, the computer's helping me out here. It's actually saying bishop takes queen, and then rook takes queen. And then obviously knight takes rook, and it's level, which is crazy. But that's not the move I saw. I saw rook over, and I actually thought I was being really clever. I thought, oh, e5, what's going on now? But the problem is, he does just take that knight. So, at least my scareometer was on. I mean, I saw to this point, and I've got to say, I was pretty happy with that, because it shows I'm getting somewhere with tactics, or at least visualization in my head. And I didn't, and again, like, to a point, you know, I saw this line, which is good enough to discard the line. But I didn't see bishop takes queen. So it just shows you that, you know, until, I don't know what it is, I think it has to be many more games to really build my vision. I mean, my opponent said the same thing afterwards. We both talked about this position. And I was actually quite impressed. I saw that bishop takes knight. And he didn't actually see it that far. He actually thought he may have blundered. I after f3. He thought he maybe lost until I showed him where I got to. So it's nice to know, you know, I'm matching wits with a previous 200. That makes me happy. So I didn't do it. But to be fair, both of us, I mean, he burnt a lot. I wondered what he was thinking about to start with. But when he put his bishop there, then of course that triggered me thinking about it as well. You know, because the obvious move is f3. And the obvious thing is not to retake the bishop. But after that, wasting about, I don't know, 25 minutes each perhaps. And we've already been going really slow trying to make sure he's not crushed instantly and, you know, etc. And can I crush him instantly? I just played rook f1. I was like, okay, fine. We'll forget about the d6 plan. You know, sometimes, even though you have like plans, and you should always have a plan, even if it's a bad one. Mine's not particularly good in this case because, look, all his pieces are out now. His king's going to be safe. He can castle, etc. Not instantly. Remember, he still can't castle. Oh yeah, no, he can castle now because now the rook isn't attacking d6 anymore. So now he's doing absolutely fine. He's actually managed to fight back to just slightly better than me actually here. And that must be because my knight's still not developed, which is hilarious if you think about how this game started. It just shows you how tricksy chess can be. So anyway, knight f1. He played a4. He really didn't like my light square bishop. He was like, nah, your light square bishop's got to go, sir. And I was like, okay, well, you've not really given me much of a choice, have you? So I'll just get rid of that one the only way I can. And he took with a king, which, as I said earlier, links to rook. So good play. I finally get my knight out. That makes sense, right? And it's actually funny how chess works. I mean, obviously I need to get this knight out, but it's actually also looking after the c4 square, and this is important. And I knew this before because at some point I'm going to play either f3 or h3, and his bishop's going to drop back, and then suddenly he's got a lot of control over c4. You know, at the moment I can still drop my queen in to defend that square if I kick the bishop. So knight a3 actually was, even though it looks a bit bizarre, actually does a job here. So he did rook h to d8. Yep, line up rooks and queens. I think I've mentioned that many times. It's always a good idea. So I start kicking the bishop, like I said. He drops the bishop back to e6, which is correct. And I play knight finally into the right square. I mean, I'll say the right square, but the square that I initially set off, shall we say. And the other good news is, okay, I still have to look after c4. But if I ever do sort out c4, my other knight can come in, and, you know, my knights don't look so bad. You know, they can sort of follow each other around the board. And this position is, as you can probably imagine, it is level. It's just a little bit annoying because I felt like I let him off the hook because of the beginning. But again, we'll come to that shortly because the game's nearly over. We're literally both down to 10 minutes now. I know it sounds stupid. How can you spend an hour and 40 each to only get to move? This is move 20. It's ridiculous. But it just happens. You just sink into a fault and you're like, oh, this, and this. So anyway, he goes... so you can't really save the bishop. I mean, you could try... I think people in the pub were suggesting knight c4. But I can just take it, and after bishop takes, I just need to move the rook. Just here, that's fine. And it's still level. So, okay, he's got the bishop pair, but I've got a nice centralised position. I can play b3, start moving the piece around, you know, maybe get the king out the centre, play b3. And now I don't have to worry about c4 anymore. You know, that's all going to sort itself out. And you know what? I've got a nice centralised knight. It's probably worth a bishop. So, you know, I would have been fine here. But he didn't play that. He played the best move, which the computer's saying is the best move. So I guess we'll just trust the computer. But he just dropped the king back. And I'm like, well, I'm taking that bishop. I mean, I give up my good knight with the idea that my other knight will end up being a good knight, if you get what I mean. So, queen takes. And here, I just wanted to look after the c4 square again. So, queen e2. Also wanted to just move my queen out the way of this rook. Safety first, but also looking at c4. He played bishop f8, which is a move designed to maybe snap off a3. His breaking the position is d5, and that's what I'm trying to play against as well. Like that's why I'm moving the queen out the way. Perhaps I'll move the rook over. If he ends up with an isolated pawn, that's something for me to play against. So I played rook fd1, ready for the what's coming through. Maybe the knight's going to come back round again. You know, just manoeuvring. And he played bishop e7 and offered me a draw. And seeing as we both had 6 minutes left with, sorry, this is move number 23, 17 moves to go. I was happy to accept it. And we said afterwards, you know, obviously we could play on, but it becomes a bit of a crapshoot. And the match was really close. So the first match against these guys, I don't know if I wrote their team name down. I think I may have done. No, I didn't. But I'll look at that in a minute because I'm going to show you the tables at the end. But we won 3.5, 2.5. So this draw was important. I think we outgraded them quite heavily on the bottom boards, but it was a lot closer than any of us thought it was going to be. So a draw was a good result. I didn't know what the results were going to be. This was, funny enough, actually not the first game to finish. I know it was a short game, but time-wise, we just spent so long. I think everyone was a bit surprised. But what I did say is I'm going to go back to the line where I should have played. So let me get back to that. Which is around here, as I was saying. So he played Queen E7 here. I castled. And he played Bishop G7. Now, what is his amazing plan? Well, funny enough, this is where I do get annoyed with chess. Well, my chess, I should say, not chess in general. I do get annoyed with chess. Let's be fair. It's quite an annoying game. But yes, this line that I just said, oh yeah, and it's no good because you end up with your queen being attacked by a bishop is the right line. I just didn't look far enough. But this is the kind of thing where a computer will win this position. And maybe if I can't see me ever getting this open again. But if I ever do, then I know. So after this position where I was saying, oh no, you know, this can't be any good because of F5, which is the top move. So, you know, my calculations at this point was correct. But this is the bit where I just like, nah, I just wouldn't have played these moves. So just Queen D2. I'm just going to play the computer's best moves just to prove a point. They're the best moves for a reason. But this is plus 3.5 for white. So it's saying, yeah, take that pawn. Because obviously that's what I was worried about. It just calmly goes rook e1, and I'm like, okay, right, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'll just let you, and obviously take the rook. What's the point otherwise? You know, you got to take material if you're losing because you may end up just checkmating. And look at how cold the computer is. Just knight c3, just knight c3. Yep, just cut that bishop off. I'm threatening f takes e. I mean, he doesn't even, and I'm threatening just to take the bishop back. So say he takes. I'm actually on his rook now. Irony abounds. You can't save that rook. If you try something like Queen F6, I just take with check. And basically your position's dead. This is mate in 7. That's wicked. So say you don't take the C3 knight. And you realise that you've been a bit greedy. It's saying that you should, to keep it just a lowly +4, play C6 just to stop the knight coming in. It just recaptures the bishop. And what it's basically saying, it's +4 here. +5 now, it's obviously going deeper and deeper into position, is this king is just not safe. The bishops are too powerful. He no longer has any dark square control. So this is another level of chess for me. I mean, I don't know if it's a computer level or if a stronger player will find that plan quite easily, but I couldn't. And the guys in the pub who I was analysing with, they're all 190. So they didn't see it either. And they actually felt a bit like me, yeah, you're exposing your position, but black is just too exposed himself. So that was game 1, so that was good, and a team victory, so that was obviously exciting. So that led on to day 2. Managed to only have 2 pints of beer, see, you know, being strong. They put me on top board for this weekend, so, you know, I was feeling the pressure a little bit. And funny enough, I flipped it to black, but I actually got 2 whites, which is very unusual. My first guy, like I say, he was a 205 previously, 177 now, but he's still FIDE. It was FIDE 2008, so decent FIDE. So that was some plus points for me. And my opponent's day was slightly stronger. He was a, well, actually no, irony. I think he was 2008 too, but his was a conversion. So he's like a 180 ECF. And again, I looked him up beforehand, and I knew he played the Caro-Kann. And recently, I've been playing the mainline Caro-Kann a lot, which is just this. I'm going to show you quickly the Knight C. I mean, there's loads of main lines, really, I guess. But the Knight C3 main line, which is this, and he plays it too. So this line here. And Bishop F5. Okay, so I've had this in hundreds of games, and I didn't fancy it, to be honest. I just didn't fancy it today. I mean, I saw some games he'd lost, and they were in some really strange lines, which I'm going to look into, because they're a bit weird. I've not really seen them as ideas before. I might actually show you just one really quickly, just because it's one for the bank. So this is all like mainline theory. I think this was Richard Britton played this against him, who's like a FIDE master. No, not that. That's not good. Sorry. He has to play h6 first. Knight here. And then I think he played... I mean, I've got to get this in the right move order. I don't think it really matters, but... He pushed the pawn. Bishop went back. Bishop d3. You've all seen this before. Bishop takes. Queen takes. E6. Bishop d2. This is like proper mainline. This would have definitely been the game had I gone down this route. Castles. Knight f6. And is it here? Did Richard Britton play it? Oh, hang on, didn't, sorry. Castles. Bishop e7. And is it now? Is it now? Yeah, he played here. Which was weird. That's it. Then he played c5, which I'm guessing is mainline. And then he played this. And I'm like, I can't go into a game where... This is the game he lost. Where this is the way to go, you know? So it's knight takes. And then you play something crazy. I think it's knight f5 here. And eventually he just got matched. He ended up losing the g pawn. Got sacked here. Got sacked on e6. And it was very fireworks. It may have been a really good idea because my opponent, as you'll see from the game that's coming, was very solid. A grinder, shall we call him. Yeah, he had a good game. But I just wanted to explain why I didn't play this line, because I don't know this line at all. And he definitely knows the main line, and he's had victories in that. So I thought, you know, just don't play to your opponent's comfort level. So I had a quick look online to see what I could come up with to try something new. And I've fancied having another weapon against the Caro-Kann for a while anyway, and I haven't decided what it is. There's loads of choices, to be honest. So even on move 1, move 2, you can play c4. That's a way to play against it. You can play d4 in exchange. That's okay, and play c4 afterwards. It's called the Panobovnik attack, something like that. Pano attack, maybe. Anyway, so there's lots of different ways, but the one I wanted to try, because I've heard good things, is the two knights, because it's not as popular. So you kind of hope that, you know, maybe your opponent doesn't know it so well. And there's a fairly well-known trap here. I'm not going to go into it too much because I'm just going to tell you that it's a blunder. But if you take back with a knight and they play bishop f5 like it's normal Caro-Kann, it's already +1 to white here, which is crazy, right? Because you're like, well, how can that be? And I'll just show you this part of it. And obviously the bishop will automatically drop back. You'll play h4. This all looks fairly normal, doesn't it? They play h6 to give the bishop a square. But suddenly, knight e5 is really strong. There's no knight on e7 to stop this. And if they drop back, I'm going to leave this to you for you guys to look at. But this is killing. This is absolutely crushing. Obviously, g6 is the move. But yeah, just have a look. And it's good stuff. Yeah, so I looked at a couple of positions. Obviously, I wasn't massively familiar with it, but I'm playing these guys, these good guys, and I want to experiment and see, you know, what is good to play. Like, just trying to make it up over the board. There must be a reason why it's a mainline opening. I wanted to find out. I wanted to test the ideas and have a look, you know, and make me think at the board. I play too mechanically sometimes when I know the opening. So I didn't know this opening. That's for definite. So let me get that game. There's a lot of chat about the game that I haven't even got into yet. So, he didn't take. Or did he? Hang on. No, he didn't. So, I played knight c3, and he played bishop g4, which I'd had a quick look at beforehand, and I at least knew what I'm supposed to do here. And you're supposed to play... is it now? I've got to make sure I get this right, guys. Yeah, h3 now. And weirdly, the idea being, if he plays bishop back to h5, you've got the same plan of attack, of trapping that bishop. There's like some g4 maneuvers and stuff like that, but again, you know, I've got that in the bank, so you know, if you're feeling risky and you want to play this line against me, I've at least looked at the traps, so I know what's going on there. But the best move is what he played, which is taking. And the plus side of this is it's a completely different Caro-Kann. For me, he may have had this before, I don't care. It's just I find myself, that other line that we were looking at just before this, that's 15-16 moves of pure, everybody knows this, and you know, I'm not this weekend just to prove who knows more theory. I'm here to play chess. And the advantage here is I've got 2 bishops, and it's going to be a fairly open board. And I generally like these kind of positions, so I thought it would be a good choice for me. I've got some work to do. Let's put it that way. But no, I like this position. So he played knight f6. I'll go a bit faster on this game. I again had a lot of time trouble in this. So I don't know why I was so slow this weekend, but I need to pick it up for the final bank holiday weekend. But I took, the main line is actually d4 here. Again, it's something I need to look into. But what I played was okay. It's pretty solid. I took. He took. And I played bishop b5 check. I just saw this as a line where I'm going to just develop quickly and, you know, get on with it. Now, knight c6 is a good move. I kind of have this problem sometimes in the Scandinavian. I tend to have a queen on f3 in the Scandinavian too. You've really got to watch out for this square because it's attacking 2 vital pieces and the c2 pawn. You just got to be aware of that. At the moment it's pinned, so it's not a problem. But you've got to watch out for a6, etc. So I just castle. The idea being if he plays a6 and b5, I'm actually defending c2 over here. Which is okay. That's all good. He played e6. And here, okay, so this is why I like playing chess when I'm not 100% sure on theory. Because you really look at your pieces and try to understand why they're there and what they're supposed to be doing. So take this knight for instance. I know I haven't developed my my d pawn yet, and to be fair, that's probably the most tempting move. And it's okay, and it's definitely a move you can play, as is the move I chose, which is nice because it just shows you that certain openings you're not crushed instantly if you make what looks like, it's not even a blunder, but you know, a move that's not first choice computer move. It's okay, but as I said earlier, I didn't want to just leave him a target on d4 straight away. As I said, the a6 plan, etc, etc. So for now, I didn't play that move, but it's obviously a very tempting move, and it's fine, and it's good, and eventually I think I do play it, but the point is you're controlling e5, you should try and do that. But this knight will still have a problem. It's like, where's this knight going? And these 2 plans may combine anyway, so I don't know if it matters too much which order you do it in. But I'm like, it's not going anywhere. Okay, it's defending e4, but I can always kick the knight with d3 if I need to. So I thought, well, let's just get that knight out of the way. And with getting the knight out of the way, I can now play c3 and control these 2 squares. So the knight can no longer hassle me the way I was just saying. c3, d4, bishop f4. That looks like a very solid position to try and work an advantage from. I've got 2 bishops, you know, I'm not crushing him, but at some point perhaps that'll work in my favour. So after knight e2 he plays queen b6, which is a good move. Attacks here, gives him a bit more control of d4, and you know, in La La Land he plays knight into e4 and maybe he's attacking me, who knows. I mean, that's very far away, you know, and in fact he kind of pseudo tries this, which is just weird because I've done nothing wrong. I haven't abused any opening rules, you know. Okay, I've moved a piece a couple of times, but not so bad that, you know, I've compromised my position. Look where my pawns are. There's no pawn weaknesses, so you know I can't be terrible here. So I dropped the bishop back to a4, which is good because I want to maintain the pin for 1, and 2. Now I'm defending c2 as well. And the downside of queen b6 is there's no a6 and b5 coming to get me because the queen's in the way. So I'm not unhappy here, and he brings his bishop in, and I'm like, okay, obviously, you know, if you can ever get this, then oh yeah, maybe you're just going to crush me instantly. But why? I haven't done anything wrong yet. So c3, I'm just defending this square. I'm going to actually get d4. I'm going to tempt you on that bishop because how do you stop it? You're not going to push the pawn. I mean, it's just ridiculous. For a start, this is a trick in the French, which is quite fun. You know, you should know these ideas from other openings if you can, and then I'll just nab that pawn, and that knight's pinned. So you know, there's no immediate crush at all. So c3, he castles, realizing that he doesn't have that big attack. I played d4, and he drops his bishop back to a good square. I mean, it's a good square. It's control a lot of dark squares, and you know, his pawns are on light squares. He's got dark square bishop. That is what you're supposed to aim for. But white has a 0.5 edge here. So I'm just saying, I've made this open up pretty much because I don't know it. But by not going crazy and just having my own ideas of where I should be putting pieces, And this is why, again, when I do a knight dance very shortly, it's because I was thinking, oh, where does my knight want to be? Where can it get to? Etc. etc. So when it does this little trip in a minute, you'll know that I was already thinking about it at this point. So I bring my bishop back into the game. I also don't want him to drop his knight in yet. So now the bishop is a decent bishop. I'm also not threatening f7 of h7, of course, but you never know. At some point, it's a good bishop. So he plays rook a c8, which is fine. A little bit poisonous. He's basically trying to potentially play his knight into this square, which would maybe, because it's basically pinned at the moment. I can't take the pawn because it just take there. So maybe I'd have to drop back to b1, and maybe I'm grovelling a little bit, but also maybe I don't need this rook yet. And perhaps I overthought this a lot, actually. I did overthink this because, as I say, I got into a lot of time trouble, and I'll mention when I'm at time trouble and what I had to do to get out of it. So I thought, well, let's just stop all that. Let's just no, you're not ever dropping your knight in there. I control that square twice. Figure something else, please. So he's gone with like a French plan. So I don't know if he ever played the French before, but this surely can't be too good here. I'm not going to say that I played good moves at this point, because at some point, he is a good player, and he does start outplaying me, which I hate to admit. But it is true. It's what happened. But I wasn't scared of this move. I was like, okay, well, where's that knight going? You're going to drop into here? You can't really take this one, because obviously I'll just pin your knight afterwards, and I'll win a piece. Be a little bit careful because there's a bishop on a3 as well. But yeah, basically you can't do it. The tactics work for white. And the other square, I guess, is you're dropping into here. What's so great about that? You're attacking a piece that I'll be quite happy for you to take. I mean, at the end of the day, I am going to try and trade it on f4. But if I don't have to move it and you have to move your knight 3 or 4 times to win that bishop, that must mean I've won a few tempi, right? Obviously, knight gets there, move my rook and let him take. So I play knight f4. So my little knight tour is on. He's off and running. And it's an okay move, but there is a better move, unfortunately. And I considered it, and it's funny how you're just not really always sure which way round to play your moves in. But bishop g5. And I was thinking here, okay, well, two things I was thinking here, funny enough, because there's part of the reason why I played bishop c2 was because I didn't want his knight to be able to drop it, because the point is he could just drop his knight in for a defence in a lot of lines, but in this line I can just nab that knight off the board, and I'm just slightly better. It looks like it'd be a pawn for a pawn, but I get a central pawn. But I got a little bit nervy, and I was a bit worried that after queen takes, which is obviously the problem with moving this bishop, that he was on this one too. So maybe a little bit of tiredness from me, because I didn't look much further, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if I go here, and he nabs this pawn, attacking the bishop, I can just go to here, which I had in my mind anyway, because it's like, I think it's called a Fione attack. And basically, well, Simon Williams calls it a Fione attack, because apparently Fiancetta, another YouTuber, apparently this is her favourite way of hacking people to death. There's a checkmate there, basically, as you can see. And but I saw to this point, and I thought, well, isn't knight e4 now defending everything? Because, look, 1, the battery's gone. 2, he's attacking that bishop. So, my calculation wasn't terrible here. But again, I've just missed it. This actually, it still wins. Because I was like, well, yeah, knight takes g5 defending h7. But now it's starting to get really fruity. So computer's saying rook fb1 here. This is not me, because I want to know why this is... No, that's bad, so that's no good. Oh, rook f, sorry, rook f, because you've got to keep control of the a pawn. You don't want to lose that. And he's actually lost his queen. It's trapped. But it's only +1. So why is that then? Because at f4. Okay, because there was a piece here. Okay, so it's a piece and a rook and a pawn, which is... But it's still an edge for white. So this is actually very good. So something... I'm going to just have to store away if the b pawn's ever attacked. That's quite nice. As I say, I got to this point. I even got to f3. And I even got to knight takes. But I did not see that after all of that, that queen actually was in big trouble. Oh yeah, I didn't see that. But that's good to know. So again, so my opening's not a complete waste of time. It's good. Just a lack of decent calculation. So I didn't play that. The other move it really wants to play here is just simply rook b1. Just defending the b pawn. And just carry on with bishop g5 afterwards, etc. Another move I considered. But unfortunately, because this is the thing, I guess it's just a lack of experience again. I came up with 3 plans, and one of them I calculated out and said, okay, it doesn't work, and that's all right. I just made a mistake. But there's nothing wrong with Rook B1. I don't know what I was fearing, but I didn't play it. I played Knight F4, as I say. I ignored it a little bit because my plan was simply, okay, I'm going to just bring my knight back to a nice central controlling square. I'll be controlling E5, potentially C5 at some point. And importantly, and the point of Rook B2, B1, sorry, I'll be defending this pawn, so I can then get my bishop out, potentially to F4 and take with the queen, etc, etc. So I had a plan. Maybe it's just a little bit too overcomplicated when just Rook B1 does the same job. So he played Knight B3. Okay, and here I was like, damn, actually, there's some tactics. I'd originally planned just a very, very, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. He goes there and I play Rook B1. Remember I was saying I'll just move my rook, and if he takes the bishop, then that's happy days, and it would be. But he's got a cheapo, unfortunately. Remember that pin? So yeah. So I saw that. But the downside is I saw it, so that's good. Good, I saw it. So I took that knight, and he took with the queen. But now it's dead level. It's like 0-0-0, and any edge that I thought I may be getting after my little manoeuvre, it's just gone. Which is a shame, because I obviously considered what would have been the best play, which is something. If you're not even thinking about the right ideas, then you're never going to get anywhere, basically. So I carry on. You know, as I said, I had a plan. The whole idea was to defend this so the bishop could get out, and maybe the rook was going to stay on A3. I think I wanted the rook on A3 just because maybe in some lines it was weak. Potential bishop's attacks, but you know, that it may have been just a little bit of a pipe dream, which is I felt that my rook deserved to be on A1. But anyway, that explains why the knight went for a little bit of a dance. So he played Knight E4, yeah, of course. But I can kick this knight, so it's not the end of the world. All I've got to be a little bit aware of is there might be a fork on D2 at some point for these 2 pieces, which I was fully aware of and calculated, so I was okay. Calculating makes you feel more relaxed. So I got my bishop out, and I want to trade off his really good bishop if I can. And he played an odd move here, but it's a good move. He keeps his options open. I mean, it's not a good move computer-wise, but it's a good move option-wise, and you'll see why in a minute, because he's actually going to instigate what is called a minority attack. And it's a lot of pressure, let's put it that way. So at this point, I drop my queen back for a couple of reasons. When my knight eventually goes, when my knight drops into E5, and he may want to evacuate the knight with F6, my queen would always be lined up with E6, potential checks after the knight move. So you know, that's why I played Queen E2. Queen E2 also to play F3, to again for that to work. And here I gotta say I had half an hour left to his hour, which was he just kept playing little moves that kept putting me under pressure. So this is move 19, and I have to get to move 40. So okay, 21 moves in 30 minutes should be okay. But I was taking 2 to 3 minutes per move from here, which wasn't great. There was no real obvious moves. You'll see as I explain as I go along. So B6, bit weird. I didn't really get that one, but I was like, okay, fine. And let's get rid of that knight. I don't like that knight. So it goes back to D6. And here I was like, well, okay, I know I've evicted him, but I was a little bit concerned about the dark squares around my king. And the idea being that, you know, don't lose that bishop unless you lose it for this bishop, you know. So a little bit risky, but I've got a slight edge here, funny enough. Knight D6 is a little bit of a concession. It's not the best move. Actually, the real move that was a concession was Bishop E7, so I've got a slight edge here. Only through the computer. I mean, personally, I took so long on each one of my moves that I haven't really got a proper edge. So he drops back to D6. I played my knight in, of course. Why not? Computer's saying best move is me to actually take this knight, but how can you ever think in your head that this is good? Because you know, you've just given up your control of all these weak dark squares. But the computer's cold. It just says play F4, and said, well, black's shut out. So you know, I keep my edge because I guess my knight is actually better than this bishop when it gets to E5. So it makes sense. But it was hard for me to play. I'd obsessed with my dart squares and losing control of them. Too much so. And it's hard to give up bishop for knight in general. I think you'll find most of your games you only ever do it when something's pinned. So maybe that's something we need to rework. And sometimes it's just knights are better in certain positions. Perhaps this one because it's closed. Yeah, maybe the argument would have been good. So we played knight d6. I played my knight into e5 because queen e2 was also to defend the b pawn. He played knight c4. And here again, I was under a bit of pressure of time, and I didn't really 100% know what would be best here. And I randomly played the best move, but it feels like I actually helped him. I know this sounds weird, but when you see what's coming, he takes with the rook. If he takes with the queen, I swap queens, and maybe it's a draw, and then we just shake hands. I would have been happy, to be honest, because I was really badly in time trouble here, so I knew I wasn't going to get any draw offers accepted, so there was just no point. I thought if I ever make it to time control, then maybe consider it, if it's level and I'm not winning. So I'm making these moves fairly fast, I've got to say. So rook takes, I'll play queen d2, just because I was a little bit concerned of maybe e5 coming in, and if I take, he could just take my bishop. So I thought, well, just defend the bishop, just keep everything defended, it's all good. Stay in the dark squares. I had that in my mind the whole time. little mantra in my head. Knight fc8. So yeah, you can see. Okay, it doesn't look scary at the moment, but there's not a lot stopping these A and B pawns coming down the board in a minute. I'm just saying. So I go rook a b1. Okay. Which is a bit of a nothing move, but what can I do? I don't have any activity at the moment. I sort of sit here and wait for him to come and get me. What I am waiting for is him to play b5, and if he plays b5, I was going to play queen d1 and swap queens and just say, well, how are you going to win this position? Because I think it'd be pretty hard, even with this minority attack. I always have my bishop sitting on d2. Okay, it's a passive bishop, but it's holding everything together. But he didn't play b5. It's clever. He played a waiting move, and he played this right. And this is why I was saying my opponent was a good grinder, because I haven't actually got any real active moves to play here, and I can go wrong. And his plan is very easy. So regardless, the computer's saying 0, 0, 0. It doesn't matter. The point is this: he's got a plan and he's going with it. And I know minority attacks can be good too, but I also know my position's not broken yet. And it's just finding the right waiting moves, and that's the key here. And remember, I've got no time. So rook a b1, a5, queen e2, just dancing around. Again, like e5's not really on because I can just take it, so that's all good. h6, good move. Creates luff, in case I ever get down the back door. He can make waiting moves. I love this actually. I would high five him if it wasn't the fact that I was feeling all this pressure, because I like the way he played. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll put my queen back there. It's no problem. He played bishop f6, which I was kind of relieved about, to be honest, until I realised what he was trying to do. Because I was thinking, okay, well, good. Now the bishop's not defending b4 so much, but he's not doing that. He's trying to play e5 at some point. And if I ever capture e5, he's got loads of pressure on c3 if he pushes all these pawns. So it's another nice little move. You may be saying, what? But you'll see shortly. So rook fe1, because I want to play against him playing e5. And he doesn't play b5 again, because as I say, if he plays b5, I've just been waiting. I'm just waiting for him to play that so I can just bring my queen back. And even then, he's probably still got a little bit of pressure, funny enough, because e5 would be a little bit scary still at some point. He'd have time to build it up, but he didn't. No, he took this moment to bring his queen away. And I was thinking, yeah, actually, if you could just rework his queen around behind the pawns, it's probably just as good. So I went back to e2 with a quick cheapo, because you never know. If he gets really casual, I don't know. I don't know why he ever would, but if he did that, then he's instantly lost to a cheapo. So, there was still danger in the position. You've got to be aware of these little tricks. But he saw it, of course. And also, rook e2 is also aimed against e5 again. So he goes back to d7, which is cool. This whole time, we're only on move 29, and I'm under 10 minutes here. When I make time control, it's with a minute on my clock. And I felt it, I've got to say. And he was just very casually moving, getting up, walking away, strolling around. Doing all the right things, shall we say. Queen d7, queen f2. I'm trying to get active here, believe it or not. I know I've lined myself up for this potentially, but you know, I'm ready for that. I'm just going to play G3 in that line. But I'm thinking, oh, maybe I can get my queen onto the king side. It's still 0-0-0. On he comes. Queen G3. Possibly the first biggest Big E mistake, which he doesn't. Does he punish me for it? He does punish me for it. Damn it. Because I'm thinking, oh, hello. Am I maybe winning this pawn? Am I maybe swapping off dark square bishops because you have to trade? Because otherwise I mate you on G7. So it's funny, I actually get done for the 2 points, so I try to get active, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. He plays the best move, ignores the threat. Oh no, what's happened there? How do I go out? Oh, this is dark mode, sorry guys, I need to get out of this. How do I get out of it? Oh, this would be funny. If I can't get out of it, it'll ruin the video. No! Saying that, I could just resize the board. Do you know what, I'm going to do that? Because I know what will happen if I try to press... whatchamacallit? If I try to get out of dark mode, it will send me to the beginning of the game or something, and I'll have to start again. So sorry about this, but you know, I'll be there in a sec. It doesn't take long. As you can see by the computer score, I'm obviously down some time here. I'm not even going to use that one. Gosh, I haven't done this for a while, you know, where I've actually messed up the board mid-video, but I'm not giving up because I've managed to get this far. So let me make this look a little bit nicer. Nearly there, sorry. I'm also nearly at the end of the game as well. I will whiz through a bit, just like my time pressure, because this video is going to be about an hour, which is a shame because I wanted this to be a fairly quick one. But there was a lot to talk about, so what can I say? Those that like my videos will watch it, I guess. Those that don't, well, they would have given up about half an hour ago. So let's make this board nice and big. So sorry about that. I got let down. I pressed a button on the keyboard, and that made it go like this. Anyway, so as I said, I thought I was going for activity, and he plays B4, which is the best move. He gets on with it. This is the minority attack. This is what we're talking about. So I took, he took. And the problem being now, if I ever take this way, which I'll just put on the board, I've got a weak pawn here, I've got a weak pawn here, I've got a weak pawn here, and it's basically game over. So that's why I didn't take. Obviously, I know that is pretty obvious, but you don't take. You wait for him to take. So A takes, and I drop the bishop back to D2 because I can't take this pawn. I just don't have time. I think. I mean, there's lots of things here that doesn't look right. Can he play D5 here? Is it D5 here, or is it just simply just takes? It takes. And then the bishop has to come back to D2 anyway. Oops. Oh no, I can't. And he just wins the pawn. So there you go. And this is a much more vital pawn to lose than this silly one on H6. So that's why at least I didn't take it. So I brought the bishop back and said, right, let's knuckle down and try and hold this. I've got to get to move 40. I've got to get there. Just hold on. So bishop D2, queen E7. Good move. As I said, the cheapo is in the position, so why not go for it? So I just brought my queen back. He tried queen A7. And I managed to get an active rook, which is like, yes, step one. I've only got 6 moves to go. So he moved his queen to B6. And I played here a move, believe it or not, I'm actually fighting well here in time pressure. It's only, I say only, I feel the pressure much more than the score the computer's giving it. It's giving 0.5 to black here. But considering it was 0.9, and I am feeling feeling it a lot, I'm doing okay. And I blunder slightly, but it's a very active move. And that's rook A4 here. And the point being, if he takes, I can take here. Because I've got time to take with check. If he tries anything like I'm going to queen, then I just take here with check and I'm just winning. Or if he takes the bishop, same thing. So that was the idea behind it. And he played king H7 to avoid all of that. But I think he can just take anyway. I can't remember exactly. what the problem was after me taking here. Hang on. So after taking here, can he just take that rook first? Just take the rook first? Yeah, I mean that looks good, doesn't it? Yeah, and I'm just getting crushed again. Look, how do I deal with all of this? This is monstrous. But he did buy it, which was so lucky that he did, to keep me in the game, I should say. And he played King H7. Still got an edge, still 0.5 here. So didn't lose anything for this. It's just it was better had he just let the tactic happen. So I managed to bluff him a tiny bit. But Rook A4 is you know, an active defence, so at least I'm doing something now. King A7. Finally, yeah, as I say, I managed to create something on the A file. So he takes. I take BC, Queen B2, and I chase that queen around for a bit, which is great because I'm getting the moves for the time control. So it goes to B3, and I'm like, well, I've got seconds. I'm not spending too long on this. Now I was going to just instantly play Rook A3, but the problem is I think he can just sneak his queen in and suddenly perhaps be a bit more scary on this side of the board. So I come up with a very good move considering how much pressure I was under. This is move 39, so one more to go after this move. And I managed to play Bishop E1, which still defending this. And now I've got a really good defence across the second rank. No queen infiltration whatsoever. So he played Rook B8. And I, with a sigh of relief, played Rook A3. Now, don't worry, there's not long to go, unfortunately. I do lose this game, I've got to say. I mean, it's a bit sad, but I just wanted to show that you can still put up a good fight even under time control pressure. So he went into B2. And the best move for me is to swap queens here. But it was hard to do because the reason being I didn't like the pressure he was now going to have along this file. And it's quite easy for him to bring this one back and this one around. And I couldn't actually see a real easy way to stop it. I mean, of course, I saw this. I saw that I was attacking the F-pawn. And then I was even thinking of going rook here. So if this pawn ever tries to push, which would be the final collapse of my position, at least I could take the D pawn. But he just has, I think his is just slightly quicker than mine, unfortunately. Because once I get here, to be honest, he could just hold that pawn, couldn't he? He doesn't even have to do anything. I mean, this rook is just free to do what it likes then. So he's just better here. But maybe, considering how the game went, it would have been a better try. And I even considered it. It's so funny. I almost didn't believe my opponent had let me off the hook. But I didn't play it because I was like, well, maybe I got a little bit optimistic here because I'd survived this long. And I started trying to win, which is possibly the biggest blunder of the whole match. So instead of that... Oh, no, okay, yeah, I do remember this. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to stop his counterplay. So if he does swap queens here, and I take with the king, the point was his rook could never then come into the second rank because I managed to cover it with my own rook. So there's still a bit of a passive defence, but maybe the king can walk over to d3 and I don't have to worry about a rook coming around the back. So the plan was a good plan. But he didn't take, which was correct. Just keep me under pressure, why not? I mean, it's not time pressure anymore, but it's definitely position pressure. And there's always these little tricks on these two pawns with this bishop. Because it's going to, after everything, rook takes, bishop takes, he'll skewer my queen or attack the rook on a1. I mean, luckily, the a1 rook's not too scary because he has to sack a rook in the first place. But while my bishop was on d2, I always had bishop e3 as a defense. If any of that happened. So I lost that defensive resource, which may or may not cost me the game. Sorry, queen b6, rook a6. Yeah, I started chasing him around again. I was like, well, where are you going to put your queen? I'm going to keep chasing it until it goes to a bad square. So it goes to c7, not a particularly good square, but he is trying to get into f2. And here's where I got or maybe the tides are turning. And so I had this check. And I also saw that he's most likely, and it is the best move, is to defend with the g pawn. But the whole time I'm looking at this rook here and a skewer. And potentially, I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but if I can get my queen onto a dark square, say this one, which is what I tried to do, who knows? I may even get a queen up into here. Because the point being, if I ever play rook a7, he's going to just block it. So I'm going to then play rook a8, and then maybe get round the back and checkmate him. And this is the point. This is where I'm saying I suddenly got too optimistic. So he played g6, and I blunder, which is so frustrating considering how long I held on for. My first plan, even before all this activity, was I was always going to give this check and just centralise my queen and say, well, honestly, how are you going to get through now? I mean, he can still keep playing moves and put pressure and keep trying to build up for e5, etc. But this is really hard to break down. My only weak point is defended by this bishop. It's very hard for him to swap that bishop for this bishop, so it's going to be very difficult for him to break through. And it would have been the right way of going things. I was the last game to finish. I had all my team waiting for me. But you know what? They would have waited because they're a good team. So I could have dug in further. But instead, I tried to get active. I played Queen A2 with that plan that I mentioned before of Queen A3, Rook A7, Rook down, Rook up, and potentially nipping into F8, which may be just rubbish anyway, because potentially he could just drop his bishop back. So yeah, so you know, totally over optimistic in the position. So he plays the right move. And this move is negated with your queen on d3. The point being he's coming in with a check here, potentially. Just more pressure on here. He's still got all of this on the d pawn. Everything's attacking that d pawn. And I blunder quite nicely for him. Well, I'll just attack that queen. That's not a problem. But he's worked it out, and fair play to him. Bishop takes check. And even here, I didn't even think I was lost. It was quite funny. I didn't see until... after I'd taken back the bishop, which is funny. I was like, well, I'm just going to take that. That's not a problem. And he took with check, of course. All right, I'm just going to move my king. And even here, I'd seen this far. Even I'd seen rook here in my head, thinking, no, it's all good. But this is the problem with multiple ply depth when you're trying to work out what moves to play and how far you should look ahead. I thought I just said, oh yeah, and when he does that, I'm just going to move my bishop. And then, haha, he's embarrassed. Because... you know, he takes my queen, I take his queen, and it must work out because, you know, he's a piece down. But unfortunately not. Just rook takes queen, and it's GO, game over. So a bit of a shame. The point being that if I take the queen, he just takes with check. Oh, not takes with check, because obviously bishop takes, and I'll be fine. Hang on, which way round is it? I know I'm definitely lost here. Yeah, he just takes this rook. What am I talking about? Just taking the wrong rook. So obviously, if rook takes or whatever, he just takes my bishop afterwards, 2 pawns up. It's over. So there you go. So 2 interesting games. I learned a lot from both. But the good news was the team still won. So we won both games this weekend, and I will try to get to the Foreign CL webpage for this because we are currently in joint 3rd place, which is amazeballs. And while I'm getting this up, I just want to say thank you to Jim for the lift that he gave me there and back. He's another Bromley boy, so it was a nice car journey. He's a lovely guy who had a lot of chatting. The guy does talk a lot. I thought I talked a lot, but this guy, there's always a bigger fish, they say that. Let me just get the website up quickly. And he's a very good player too. He coaches, so I don't know if anybody's interested in some coaching. He seems like a very decent one. He's 195, or he's going to be. He's on a 30 game unbeaten streak, though he's playing tonight, so I hope I haven't jinxed him. But yeah, if I quickly just get to the tables, just to show you this. And obviously thank you for all the Tigers that turned up that didn't even play. So that's the sort of team we've got. They turned up even though they didn't play, and they still pairings tables. That's what I want. Still sat with us, went through the games, had a couple of beers, as I say, on the Saturday night. But here we are. I know it says 5th, but we're not. It says 5th, but we're actually joint on the 11 points over here. It's just goal difference, so we're actually 3rd. We've only the team is 2nd, a point ahead, and we've got 3 games to go on the bank holiday weekend, so it's going to be a tight finish. But yeah, so thanks to all the Tigers. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's a bit long, but there was a lot to talk about. A lot for me to take away and study and learn, and even just don't get into time trouble and use my clock better. All these things. I know we all do it. Some days we're better than others, but the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. That's the whole point of experience. So anyway, please like. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, and thank you very much.